totally rosy with the Eagles coming out of that game. There were some things from Jalen Hurts that still concerned you, Dan, and you've got to tape.
Yeah, decision making. And I do not believe that Jalen Hurts played well in that football game for the most part. And the concern is he's never really been a poor decision maker, both in the pass and the run. They're going to motion the tight end over. It's a four-man surface. It's an RPO. You can either hand it off or throw the bubble. It's off that backer. If the backer stays inside, we kick the bubble. If the backer goes out towards the top of the screen, we hand the ball off. I have no idea why Jalen Hurts would throw this bubble. If he hands the ball off, Saquon might hit his head on the goalpost. And he's usually so good at the decision-making in that RPO game, the zone read game, where he could be a ball carrier. We release the tight end. We're going to double team on the front side, double team on the back side. He's just releasing or reading that defensive end. Same thing. If the defensive end squeezes, we keep it. If the defensive end stays outside, hand the ball off. Hand the ball off, it might go for 15, 20 yards. Jalen pulls it and is a ball carrier, and it's -1. So two decisions in the run game that are abnormal. Then some of the turnovers, right? They tried to throw like a little fake bubble screen, throw the ball downfield. J-Mac, you know this. He going pump fake, right? You're trying to trick the defense. The defense wins the rep.
Covered.
Jalen throws the ball to the flat. That's a pick six if the defensive back catches it. That's concerning. And now this is their 2x2 RPO. Harry, you know this, where he's going to read that defender, and it's double slants. All right, Jair Alexander at the bottom of the screen completely wins the route. The slant to A.J. Brown is shut off. Now, A.J., I don't like the fact that he stops running.
Right.
But if Jalen, again, just decides to throw the football, I didn't show the 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
2 interceptions were bad as well.
One in the end zone.
I think if you're the Eagles, there's a lot that you liked, but there's also like, man, our quarterback got to be better at decision-making.
What they like is that they started the season 1-0.
Totally.
That they made mistakes. They still can get better, but we at least started 1-0. And this is a new offense. This is a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and it's September. There are going to be kinks that have to be worked out, but with Jalen Hurts, Greeny, you asked earlier, is Saquon the missing piece? Yes, but everything hinges on Jalen Hurts' performance going forward. I don't think Saquon, if Jalen continues playing like this and it's November, December, that's still an issue. It doesn't matter that Saquon Barkley's on the field.
I would say this about the 2 interceptions, because they both were 3rd and longs.
Yeah.
If I had one critique for Kellen Moore, understand, feel your quarterback out. Don't put him in those situations.
Right, the first one's just everyone run deep.
You're backed up in your own territory.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we start tonight, week 2.
All right. Well, they really skipped over that a little bit. Yeah. So listen, I think that those criticism sounds too strong, but those issues that they're highlighting with Jalen Hurts, I think is accurate, and I think it's totally fair. But again, I think it's something that should be discussed and not so emphasized as this is like a fatal flaw, because even Orlovsky pointed out that this is not inherent to Jalen Hurts, who Jalen Hurts is, that he doesn't necessarily have a history of poor decision making. I understand he had a bunch of interceptions last season, but that's really more of an outlier situation than anything else. He was also terrible against the blitz because Brian Johnson did nothing to help him. Kellen Moore significantly helped him, and he did great against the blitz, right? Close to 100 yards and a touchdown versus the blitz. So those were measurable improvements. So some of those mistakes that he made, we could either chalk it up to week 1, chalk it up to him learning a new system, chalk it up to some rust. Like it could be a couple things, or it could be still something that he needs to work on. And I think Dan highlighted all of that stuff so beautifully. And so there's really 2 other main takeaways that I want to point out. One, the Eagles still put up huge points despite a perfect game from Jalen Hurts, right? With concrete things that Jalen needs to clean up. That should scare anyone, because if Jalen Hurts can kind of lock down a little bit and Kellen Moore can understand his quarterback a little bit better, then that, like Douglas pointed out as well, then that could just be, again, another gigantic step forward, which would be pretty scary for the rest of the NFL. And I think that's, a pretty fair assessment. And I do agree that at the end of the day, this team does hang on to the success of Jalen Hurts. He's the quarterback, right? Like that's not that much of a controversial or statement or a hot take here. So Jalen Hurts does need to play better. The thing is we pointed out some of his flaws of that game, but some of the stuff that he did was also elite. Like what he did was the way how he closed out that game, the passes to Devontae, going for it on 4th down, passing the ball before the 2-minute warning. I mean, like he had pinpoint accuracy, and just confident decision making, and the right play, the right decision. So he absolutely made some wrong decisions, but he also made some perfect decisions with perfect throws. So that also has to be highlighted. But I do understand pointing out some of these flaws and some of these mistakes. I do, and it does make sense. I really do get that and understand that. But to me, and I've said this now in many videos, but especially more talking about young quarterbacks, but it makes sense when you have a new coordinator. This is the first game that Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts prepared together, right? They're actually truly running, the offense together. This is the first game on film. Now they get to work together. Now they get to study it. They look at it. They break it down, right? They get to continue to learn and grow and improve and work off that. Before, Kellen Moore's looking at all other stuff from previous games, probably a lot of last season and maybe even the season before. And it's a little bit harder because it's a different offense. It's a different style. He's a different person at that point from what he was in 22 versus 24. So this is now what matters. This week, I'm really excited to see Jalen Hurts kind of continue to grow and continue to develop his relationship with Kellen Moore, because we know it takes a second or two to kind of get these things going, to see, to build that trust, even, quite frankly, right? Like, to build that trust, to see when a coach says, hey, do this, it's like, I don't know, and then you do it and you're like, okay, actually you were right, that makes total sense. Okay, you got to start to build that trust. Or it's a two-way street. When the quarterback goes to the OC and says, I can do this, and the OC's like, I don't know, can you? And he's like, okay, you can. I believe you now, right? Like, it just, or you're wrong, and you're like, I told you, and you're like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, it's a relationship just like any other relationship, right? It's a living, breathing thing, and so that's what we get to see develop week to week, and that's why I don't put too much of an emphasis on some of the negatives week one, right? If Kellen Moore was the OC last year, then this would be worth more of an emphasis. It would be more of like, I'm actually legitimately concerned about this. But the fact that I saw some major positives, to me, that outweighs some of the legitimate concrete negatives. But it's just like week one, new OC, new offense, new weapons, like legitimately like new players. It's just, you're playing in Brazil. There's a lot going on. I give the grace. I would give it to any quarterback, let alone not just Jalen Hurts, right? I mean, so I did it to Caleb. I did it to Bo Nix. And I understand that they're rookie quarterbacks, but, I do it even against seasoned veterans, quite frankly. So I think it's worth talking about, discussing about, and unpacking a little bit, but I don't think it needs to be this whole thing of like sounding the alarms. I would like to see a cleaner game from Jalen. I would like to see no turnovers, no interceptions, or at the very least just good decision making. See that cleaned up. The Eagles, to me, should win this game quite convincingly. They should seem like they're in control for the most part for the entire game. Right, they get that extra rest. It's not until Monday, so another standalone game, which will probably have lots of attention on them. A lot of people love these days to be hating on the Eagles, so I'm sure come time Monday we'll get plenty of that, and then Tuesday, it's always fun to see what happens post game for sure. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think Jalen Hurts has put his last season struggles behind him, or do you still have concerns? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.